This is one of those films that is on most people's top horror film lists, and that is with very good reason. The Exorcist is one of those films that you can watch over and over again and it doesn't lose its edge. You then start to notice that it's not as simple as it appears. It is not just a story of a girl possessed, but a story with so much more layers to it. Add to this, it has some of the most cutting-edge special effects of the time. I think one of the reasons why it's so strong and how it struck such a chord with the people at the time was because it was set in a modern setting, to a normal family, and that makes it all that more relatable. Ellen Burstyn plays Chris McNeil, an actress who is the mother of Reagan, the little girl who gets possessed. She was in a normal, caring relationship with her daughter Reagan, played by Linda Blair. Reagan then starts to develop some problems in her behaviour. The doctors keep saying that it's some sort of mental issue, but when her bed starts thrashing around, it becomes clear that there is some supernatural evil presence at work here. It then gets worse and worse until she barely resembles the innocent little girl that she once was. It's a gradual progression as this demon gains more and more control over her. All while this is happening, a local priest, Father Karras, is having his own crisis. He is starting to doubt his faith and he has to deal with his mother's decline in health. His is a completely different type of story. His story is wrapped with guilt and pain. Chris then comes to this priest as a last resort and asks how she would go about getting an exorcism to save her daughter's soul. Reluctant at first, him believing that the girl has some sort of schizophrenia changes when Reagan points out something that she couldn't possibly know about his own life. This is when the exorcist gets sent in. Exorcisms are very rare and quite outdated, and there are only a few priests who can perform them. The only one they could get a hold of was an elderly priest who was very frail. This starts up a very different kind of good versus evil battle, as it's all set in this little girl's room. These priests are trying to cast out this demon while the demon is being very vulgar, hitting them with very personal subjects for the priests. Like I said before, this film works on several different levels. The obvious one is the good versus evil story. It also deals with the loss of faith, the inner struggles inside every one of us, and the loss of innocence. This film is filled with lots of imagery and scenes which are very powerful and still very effective to this day, and remain some of the most memorable. The biggest credit of this film would go to director William Friedkin, who tackles his story very seriously. He certainly really knows how to set up this atmosphere, and all the characters write emotional responses, and this adds to the realism and believability of his characters. He doesn't hold anything back, and in some of the stunts the actors actually physically got hurt and those cries of pain are genuine. He seems to be one of those directors where you're always on edge if you're working with him. He would do anything to benefit the film. He even froze the set so that the cold breath would come out the actors. The last thing I need to mention is the haze of mystery surrounding this film. A number of people making this film died mysteriously, which I find is a very weird and creepy coincidence. So anyways, this is a true horror masterpiece and one of the greatest films ever made. This is one that everyone should see at some point in their lives, whether they be a big horror fan or just a big fan of cinema. This is quite a compulsory watch. Well anyways, as always, thanks for listening.
Your mother's in here with his cars. Would you like to leave a message? I'll see that she gets it.
If that's true, then you must know my mother's maiden name. What is it? What is it?